guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's another episode of Maps and Monsters, and mostly today just maps. I'm not going to do any watercolor today. I'm just going to be transferring from graph paper onto some sketch paper some maps that I've been working on. This is more of that temple complex that we talked about last time. And I don't know if you watched the previous video, but basically I ended up preferring the inked drawing rather than the colored in map. So today we're just going to try to go ahead and see how just in ink looks. I mean, maybe it's okay to do a mix of those things. Some maps in color, some just black and white. I would say, oh, that would reduce my printing costs, as though this would ever get printed. But you know, you never know. So this first building is a temple building that has like a ceremonial cleansing, or what we might think of as like a baptizing kind of chamber in it. To dip into the holy lake waters here. When I was designing this, what I did was I really went back and deeply reread the combat section of this campaign. Make sure that I'm accounting for, you know, how wide are the doors? How does somebody get in and out of this location? What does this location, how do people move through it? And then also, how could a player potentially derail that? So in this particular case, there's actually ramps that lead down into the water here. Keeping in mind that most of the creatures in this setting are actually marine, so they're more likely to deal with ramps than stairs in particular. Although, you know, this is a frog temple, so there's a bit of both. Because frogs have no problem with stairs. Frogs mostly don't need stairs, you know. Okay, and so in here, we've just got these ramps leading down into the water. You know, it's an enclosed bathing chamber that's out over top of the water. I'm actually going to go ahead and do what I did last time, which is add some like support structures beneath, and I'll probably go through and add those ripples that I did last time. Maybe I've learned a thing or two about how I want those to look. Yeah, we'll just start with that. And then, just trying to think, maybe it makes sense for there to be a bench here and here. Because obviously, if you're cleansing yourself in the ceremonial waters, you need somewhere to put your stuff. Okay, that's just to get started on this other building here. This building is a big kind of administration building. I think I've even called it the administration building in my setting. You know, it's where all the people who work at the temple actually live and, you know, go about their day-to-day lives. There is a forge here. There's, you know, the cook and the kitchen. But there's also like all this sleeping space, and there's a dock on this side to fish off of. while I do really like the straight lines that you can get with a ruler, there's something that's kind of endearing about the slightly wonky lines that you make when drawing a straight line by hand. Okay, so this first room is the kitchen. Next room is the forge room. Oops. It's alright. And then this room is the sleeping chambers. Now I really want to think about how I want to draw the sleeping... Oh! I have messed that up royally somehow. Oh, no, I'm good. Okay, I'm just overthinking this. No, I need to get rid of this little section in the middle here. The good news is I have this white ink, which I got in preparation for Inktober. Hashtag Inktober, it's coming. Preptember? Is that what we call when we prepare for Inktober? No. Anyhow, I have this white ink. It's very opaque. This room has kind of a funny, I don't want to say conceit, because that's not really what I mean, but the theme of this room, when it's taken over, there are some drop spiders in this room, spiders that are hanging from the ceiling. And this room normally, when it's just occupied by people sleeping, has a bunch of movable panels, like you might see in like a conference room that separate spaces. They're just like leather panels that are on racks hanging from the ceiling. So that, depending on how many people need to be, need to sleep in the room or like what's happening, there could be different configurations of the room. But when the temple is invaded, these drop spiders move in and they are moving the panels around while you're in the room. Of course, they're very stealthy, so you don't even necessarily realize that it's happening at first, and I hope that most characters don't think to look up. But you can imagine that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 18 panels, mobile 10-foot panels that can be moved around to trap people in corners and things, make them more vulnerable. And so that's a pretty fun idea. I liked the idea a lot. Alright, so in this room, while that dries, hopefully I'll be able to write over that. I don't know. I haven't had good luck with writing over it thus far, but I'm going to go ahead and add some doors in. So here's the door to the forge, and then to the kitchen. And then on the other side of the kitchen is the door to this dock, which is intended just to be used for fishing. And in the kitchen, let's see here, there's a big table. Not actually a table. There's a big slab of rock around which people eat. It's kind of fun when you're thinking about, frogs and fish and octopi and like, how do they sit? How do they move? Does it make sense for there to be chairs? The answer is no. No, it doesn't make sense for there to be chairs. But maybe they might not want their food on the floor. So in places where they eat, it's mostly just a large slab of rock. Another thing that I really had to think about was, do they or do they not cook their food? And again, I think the answer there is no, they do not cook their food, which is pretty funny to consider. Okay, so I think for this room, that's taking rather a risk to go straight in with pen. Or have a forge against this wall here. Just drawing little tiny stones. As if, you know, think of a pizza oven. And then there's a chimney here. Here's the first place I wish I could add color. I wish there was an easy way to show that this forge is a glowing sort of fire. Sometimes you try a thing and you're like, huh, that didn't work out. That's exactly how I feel about this. For now, we'll leave it. I may come back and completely redo that. I'm just going to add a bench to this back wall. You know, a place for the forge masters to actually make their weapons. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I've got to think about how I want to show where the panels could be. I think all I really want to do is maybe do some dotted lines where the bars are and just leave it up to the DM, the game masters to really decide how they want to use those panels on the grid. So there might be, shoot, I didn't need to erase that line, really. It's okay. So there's both going up and down and left and right. And then this just shows where the rails are that the panels can move along. It's not actually like demonstrative of the actual panels. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is add those markers for where everything sticks into the water. Don't know why I can't think of the name for that, but since this is all cantilevered over the water, these sorts of edges, these sorts of poles, I don't think it would matter to like the game master or the players. This is more about kind of getting the ambiance, reminding you that this is cantilevered out of the water, even if there's not really other obvious signs of that. Okay. Do I have a smaller pen than this? Yes. Alright. Now I'm just going to go in with my 0.03 and do those wave ripple things. Now today I am doing this on sketchbook paper, which I've actually gotten very used to working with watercolor paper, even for pen. So it's a little different for me. Not that different, necessarily. But since I didn't plan to watercolor these, I decided, boy, I'm going to go through a lot of watercolor paper for Inktober, because I'm doing a lot of ink washes. I've already had to go buy some more watercolor paper. And you know, it's not expensive, but it's not, well, let me put it this way, it's not sketchbook paper. So I do kind of miss the heaviness of the watercolor paper, though. There's kind of this flimsy feeling that sketchbook paper has that makes me feel like I'm just gonna rip it. So what I do like about just the ink drawings is it does sort of allow for kind of a focus on exactly what's going on. I am having kind of a hard time representing some of the thoughts that I have, some of the cool ideas, like this room, for example. But even that forge, you know, needs some work. So I may revisit these temples later, but part of my goals for this month was to get these temples drawn. I want the ability to be able to just hand these maps to my friend so that he might actually test. I haven't actually asked him to do this yet, but he has more than one game that he plays, and so he has not just the group I normally play with every Saturday, but a second group and very different play styles. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to test this setting with people who just are completely different than the types of players that we have. Not that I don't love our friends and our players, because I do. Alright guys, I think that's about all I can do with this today. Thanks for stopping by. Please stick around, subscribe. Appreciate if you subscribe and like below. If you subscribe, there'll be a new video almost every day in October for Inktober, obviously related to drawing and art more than anything. But if you're interested in more of the Dungeons and Dragons and campaign side of things, November is NaNoWriMo, and I will be focusing entirely on creating new content for my campaign setting, The Shallows, that month. So I'm really excited about that too. Both those things are coming up, and if you don't want to miss it, please subscribe below. I can't wait to see you again. Have a good day.